In terms of in-force SaaS operations, the vast majority of the action that we see on our SaaS platforms is around HCM. HCM. So anything from help, HR self-service to talent management and anything people-related types of applications are in high demand. We see the ERP side of it growing in popularity as time moves on.
Which aspect of ERP?
So it would be enterprise financials, for example.
Financials.
Yep, financials, manufacturing, distribution, large, and building base of demand for it. In your session around your research note, I would say, if I put a twist on what you said, I would agree with it. So if you said by 2016, 70% plus of apps will be in the cloud, I'll buy that. So there's a little bit of modification. I don't think that every app will be SaaS. I think there's plenty of single tenant types of, dedicated types of apps that will be in the cloud. The customers want to go that way.
Well, we're not, it's at least Saugatuck's opinion that the whole issue of multi-tenancy is an issue more for the vendors than the users. Users don't give a hoot, right? They just want a business problem solved.
Right. In fact, and from a customer's perspective, really, it's all about creating atomic business function and then creating a loosely coupled architecture around it so that I can integrate and own all the stuff that maybe I used to instantiate in the monolithic architectures. I can actually own and manage in a middle layer, in a cloud core, whatever you want to call it. And so I completely agree. I see it escalating rather radically to the point where you start to chip away at some of the traditional monolithic architectures, be they with best of breed providers or with traditional providers. You're going to get a different architecture out of it because I think the way that business rules and data and assets are secured and the way that they live changes completely under a new enterprise architecture. We do have a legacy infrastructure. We have monolithic ERP. It's sitting in a JDE environment that we're working ourselves out of. But one of the things that we're really impressed with is sort of the innovation that's happened in the IaaS and PaaS space that's enabled the ISVs to be competitive in markets where they weren't competitive previously. They don't have to worry about, is it on Oracle or is it on SQL or is it on Microsoft or on Linux or what? We don't care. And the notion being that that's not a business that we want to be in anymore. And so everywhere that we have an opportunity to assess and shift an atomic business function into the new architecture, we take that opportunity to do so.
There's software as a service, which are the applications, and everybody's thinking about that. You also talked about what is this concept of the platform as a service, and I think we're starting to see that the platform of the future isn't what the platform was 30 years ago. It's not just a language in a database. That doesn't come close to what's required. You actually need a platform which is more transparent and can incorporate services, whether they be integration services, business process services, data services. There's a lot of different components, and that's what the platform of the future, if you will, looks like. And it does bridge that gap between the underlying infrastructure, where you want to be able to self-provision, you want to be able to have an elastic infrastructure, but you also, it kind of comes between, you also still need functionality in business processes, which are the applications. And so the platforms that are coming out, and I think there are a lot of new innovations that are coming, as we're thinking about things like rules, we're thinking things about really not just data or app-to-app integration, but you're thinking about underlying messaging and all those capabilities. That's what the platform needs to look like going forward.
The business is becoming IT. Any non-IT business out there is actually becoming an IT business. The lines are blurred between, your organization is a prime example, Scott. The lines are blurred between the providers and the consumers of applications. So if anything, people with IT leadership skills are needed more than ever. But rather than being overseeing the IT function, the IT assets, I think Mike Pearl talked about this. The IT leader is no longer the curator of the IT, of the server room or the IT assets. The IT person now rises to a level of consultant to the business. And the business needs to know what technology they need to apply to given situations or problems. The IT person IT person's role is to identify the resources, where they're going to come from. They could come from the cloud, they could come from their own IT data center, or somewhere else.
One of our customers, York Risk Services, they're actually, one of their components is headquartered in Louisiana and got hit with Katrina. Now they're headquartered in Parsippany, New Jersey, got hit with Sandy.
Oh.
I mean, they're really, but what's interesting is after Katrina, we talk about time to market and opportunity. They are a claims management service provider, and they did not go down at all during Katrina, even though they're headquartered in Louisiana, mostly because they actually offer their application as a service, and they're a service provider, and whereas Treb, they had redundancy built in and everything else, so they basically were fine. What happened after that, they realized because of claims processing, what they needed was a new application that was catastrophic claims management, which is very different because the way you handle catastrophic claims like Katrina or Sandy are very different from how you do basic, I hit my garage door with my car kind of thing. So they built this application. They were up and running with it within 4 months, which in the insurance industry, you never build a brand new application and offer it out there. It actually happens to be right now their #1 seller. And when Sandy happened, their catastrophic claims processing capability, more and more people, it was just an amazing amount. And this is what the nice thing about SaaS is. This is all offered as a service. People just started gaining access to the catastrophic claims. They just acquired, actually, I was talking to the guy, they acquired 40 new insurance companies just with Sandy based upon the catastrophic claims app. So that's a time to market. That is an insurance company, and we talked about innovation and delivering things in time to market. Those are the types of things when you offer your application as a service that you can do. And that's, that's the value chain. We talked about it. It's not about cutting costs. It's how can I innovate or how can I offer things to the market quicker and get return for that investment.
The ISV and web services community, the answer is not all that different. And the reason is that they grossly reduce their cost of service or cost of goods through the leverage of a common stack. So I don't have to regression test against multiple stacks and platforms. I don't have to have people who are able to be able to develop in multiple environments. I don't have to port anything anymore. So on that sense, I absolutely believe that it's not only leveled the playing field, but in many cases, compared to traditional or legacy companies that are mired in the baggage of those traditional organizations, they can actually be competitive and differentiate themselves.